Thank you. I knew the bottle is catching attention. Young people who gave up, young people who surrender, young people who lost their job have no hope to find one, and young people who lost the will to wake up in the morning. I dedicate this speech to them and to the new generation of European which will come after mine. Thanks. This is the office of ThinkYoung. It's the best think tank in Brussels. We created about 6-7 years ago. It's 50 square meters. It's an office. It's a house for 3 people. It's a movie editing studio. It's a conference room. It's a meeting room. We have a balcony where we interview people. This picture is taken from top where we actually sleep. I legally employ 2 guys who are from Italy. One of them is my brother. My mother doesn't know it's illegal. I actually sleep there when I'm in Brussels too, so it's an house for 3 people as well. The team is not just made of us. We're about 10, coming from all over Europe. Some of them are paid, some of them are unpaid. This situation is very common wherever you go and you meet a startup in Europe nowadays. This is our balcony, and the nice thing is that right next to us there is a European Parliament where 755 members of the European Parliament decide laws for Europe every single day. Why we get such a good location is very cheap, because below us there is a beer factory, there is a lot of noise, nobody wants to work there. We love it. It's amazing. You get into the office in the morning and you have 2 doors, and one is our office, one is the beer factory, and it's always doubtful. Unfortunately, we sleep there, so we don't have a choice, but the people who work with us, they do, just in case you feel like applying. What happens there? We were there talking about this very TED speech, and obviously TED speech put a lot of pressure, so we got a bottle of wine, and we were talking what we could talk about, what I could talk about, and one of the ideas was to talk about a new European patriotism, and to talk about this you really need a good bottle of Spanish wine. Suddenly the wine finished, and we need to open the bottle. We take a second bottle, but we don't find the opener. And I mean, after the first bottle, I tell the guys, I saw a video on YouTube, you know, during that time I was watching a lot of TED Talks to try to improve. And in that case, I also end up watching other YouTube videos that always happen. And there is this Polish guy who teaches you how to open a bottle with your shoe. So basically, it works, I'm not playing the video, but it works like this. You take your bottle, you take off your shoes, you put the bottle in the heel of the shoes, and you push till you scratch it against the wall, and the cork gets out. This is what you see on YouTube. Now, what happens in reality is that, obviously, when you're a very strong Italian guy, what happens in reality is that you crash it against the wall, the bottle breaks, you cut your wrist, there is blood all over, you simply split blood all over, and then you get like in an action movie. So what happens is that you find the towel, you put it around your arm, and then you try to run down and find the first taxi. You get into a taxi. Luckily, he's a Greek guy, so you hope the guy knows some driving skills, and you tell him, take me to the hospital, please, now. And you're really almost passing away. And the guy, I mean, is probably the only Greek guy who drives very slow. And he stopped at a red light. I mean, I'm there dying, and I'm telling you, mate, are you joking or what? So we started insulting him in Italian, but anyhow, the guy is driving in a completely wrong direction with the hospital, and suddenly he brings me to a completely new hospital, which I didn't know. I get in, there is a Turkish guy, short, fat, kind of classic Turkish. He gets in, typical Turkish humor. He says, I was a butcher until last week. So, and basically what happens is that, I mean, he does the stitches and the story ends luckily well. I know it sounds like a joke because you have one Polish guy in the video, a Spanish wine, you have a Greek taxi driver, a Turkish butcher / magician, you have 3 Italians, and you have 755 members of the European Parliament. All these people, they live in Brussels, none of them is from Belgium. So why are we all there? The thing is that we're all there for money. And this is the reason why most of the people go to Brussels now when they try to work for the European Union at the moment. It's money. And this is very sad. And we spent the last 20 years or 30 years in Europe focusing only on making Europe based on money, and we completely forgot everything else. The reason why Europe started 70 years ago, for the one of you who forgot, just before showing you this, the thing that we focus too much on money, it makes also that now that there is a crisis, everybody complains about Europe. Because Europe is there for money, and it's not working. When there is a crisis, then what's happening? Then a crisis, I complain about Europe. But Europe is not there only because of that. The main reason why we did Europe was this. Second World War, a lot of people dying, countries fighting to each other. We decided to make peace. Spent 60 years to work on it. We manage it. There is peace in Europe. Give Europe a big applause, please. Little detail, Europe didn't start it 70 years ago. Europe is a concept that the Greek philosophers started pitching 2,500 years ago, trying to opposing the European way of doing, a land of freedom where people could do whatever they wanted, opposed to the Asian way of doing, which was where people were submitted to a hierarchical authority. Tells you something? 500 years later, St. Paul again speaks about Europe as a place where Christian, the new religion, and Jews and maybe Muslims, they could live and spend life together. Then you go on, and for 2,000 years you have a lot of writers, you have Byron, you have Goethe, you have Shakespeare, you have Dante, you have as many speaking about Europe. 1849, you have Victor Hugo, who does a lovely speech at the Peace Conference, when Europe was so much fighting among each other, and we did it until 70 years ago. And his dreams about a Europe where will be peace, and people thought he was stupid. And now we have. Actually, we have peace. Yesterday, 19th of April, Kosovo and Serbia, the last two countries who fought in Europe in 1999, signed a peace agreement, finally at the same table for the first time in history, 2013. So what's now the future for Europe? We did peace. Why do we need Europe anymore? We don't need it anymore. Actually, we need Europe because there are a lot of opportunities around. There are opportunities that come from new country joining. You have all the Eastern country. You have even new countries that are not there, that we could spread the voice of Europe to. We have Turkish, we have Israel. And also it comes because we should look at what can Europe give us. And what can Europe give us is a lot of opportunities in terms of what we can catch with new cultures, but also looking at what is the future in terms of economics. If you look at it, it's not Asia. Asia was the future 30 years ago. Asia now is the present. The future is Africa, the future is South America. And guess what? You go to Africa, and most of the languages they speak are English and French. I don't speak Chinese or Vietnamese. Or you go to South America, and most of the languages they speak is Spanish and Portuguese. So there are a lot of opportunities for Europe. The only problem is that we're not together. We are again starting fighting against each other, which is very stupid. There are nationalistic movements all over Europe nowadays, which makes absolute no sense. So opportunities are there. Be open. But how do we catch these opportunities? What is the competitive advantage of Europe? If the US is a place where they do business, because that's always what they've been good at, and if Asia is a place where we do the production of goods, what is left for us? Where is our competitive advantage? Well, our competitive advantage is in our history, is in our culture, is in what we are good at. If you look at the new startups in Europe, but also if you look at the successful companies in Europe, they're all linked to the same industry, which have a very strong cultural background, which is food, fashion, furniture, design, music. And if you look at the new startup in Europe that are changing the world, again, linked to culture. Skype is a communication company. It's a European company. Shazam, it's linked to music. There's so many startups in Europe. The only problem we have, again, we're not open enough. We're not an open society yet. We're not ready to welcome Europe. That is the competitive advantage of Europe. There is no country in the world who has the power of cities like Paris and London, like Rome and Prague, like Madrid, like Porto, like Lisbon, like Prague. Nothing. Nobody has this. In Europe, we do. We should focus on what we are good at, and this is culture, education, education, education. This is what we have to invest in the next years. Now, you would say, yes, but this is a lot of words, but who pays for it? As I said, first, there are a lot of opportunities with new countries joining and with Africa and South America, but not only. This is the GDP rank of 2012, very classics. United States, 15 trillion, China, 8 trillion, Japan, Germany, France. Then you have newcomers, Brazil, Russia, India. Now, watch this magic. 2012, it can also be seen like this. Good at. And to this, you are missing Turkey, you are missing Israel, you are missing countries that we have to welcome, and that will make us even stronger. And then we can look at the world from a different point of view. Europe is not so bad. Now, I know the economy is not the only thing. We are here to make a good place to live in. So what about standard of living? But in Europe, we have the least amount of hours per employee worked all over the world. We have the highest amount of holidays, yahoo! And not only, it's a good way to check if we are good in what we are doing in terms of well-being, it's sport. Last year we had the Olympics. What happened if we had a European team? Huh? So it's always a matter of perspective and see things and see Europe together now. And I'm going to innovation because what you're interested in. In 1500, in Europe, we started with a national state. And between 1500 and today is always that we know in terms of politics is national state. France, Germany, United States, Brazil, blah, 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 blah. Today, in Europe, we are engaged in the most innovative project ever, a union of states, which agree to get together, sit down around the table, and makes the best place to live in the world. And you know what's the power of this magic is that there are other countries around us who want to join, and in order to join, we tell them, okay, but Turkey, if you want to do it, you have to abolish the death penalty. And Ukraine, yes, if you want to join, you have to change a bit your human rights policy. And Serbia, what happened yesterday? Do you want to join? And stop doing what you're doing to Kosovo. And they sign and they agree. We don't have to change the world, conquering Iraq or Afghanistan. We are changing the world, making an innovative project to which people want to participate in. This is what is Europe there for. And this is the most innovative project ever. And as in 1500 national states change our current life, this project of a union will change the life of people for the next 1,000 years. And guess what? In Africa, they're changing the same way of doing with an African Union, and in Asia, they're doing the same thing. And in South America, the Mercosur is changing exactly in the same way. Now, and here I close. We need a new European dream. We need to make Europe the best place to live in the world. We need a Europe that is safe for our children, where education is at the head of the agenda. We need a Europe where our children speak so many languages, the language is not a barrier to find a job anymore, but actually is a strength. We need a Europe that cherish and respect women, where women are the leaders. Huge respect, yeah. We need a Europe where Turkey and Israel join. We need a Europe where culture is our backbone. We need the dream of a Europe where people can find a job that fits their passion. And as that great guy, that experience with the blood, and I left this slide at the end because I knew my mother was going to watch the beginning when she doesn't speak English, so she stopped. When you face death, and this is what I mean with faces death, that was all the blood that I spilled just in the balcony. When you face death, it's a wake-up call. And what's happening in Europe now is a wake-up call. Maybe Greece, that is leading us toward the crisis, is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call because money is not the only way that we should focus our Europe on. It's a wake-up call, because we have to remember that the new European dream is to make Europe the best place to live in the world. And we owe this to all the young Europeans who surrender, to all the young Europeans who gave up, and to all the young Europeans who lost their job. And we owe this to the new generation of Europeans that will come after us. We have to make Europe the best place to live in the world. Thank you very much.